when I was in my mom's womb, I had a stroke. So my left foot would be walking normal. My right foot would be off to the side, and I had to deal with that until about eighth grade.
The default setting in the world is very much not being present, right?
So neutrality, kindness, and amusement. If you could have
Yes.
those three things, whatever you're doing, then it's just gonna make the condition so much better.
Hello and welcome to the Higher Vibe. I'm your host, Jean Rorda. We're having conversations with psychic friends, and today I have with me Steven Friesen. He's a massage therapist and healer. Hello, Steven. Thanks for being here with me today.
Hello, hello, hello. This is gonna be fun.
I know. I'm so excited. What I love about having Steven on the call today is that he grew up with spiritual tools. He grew up in a community of psychics and practitioners of clairvoyance, and his mother is a dear friend of mine. And so I would really love to hear your perspective, Steven, on growing up, knowing how to be in your space and be aware and have these kinds of awareness tools almost really from the get-go, right? How has that impacted your life?
So, how my mom knows you is through this amazing, renowned spiritual healer. And when I was 4 years old, I would have these grand mal seizures just convulsing on the ground. And I had this for about a year and a half. We went to all of these doctors, and no one could really figure out why. So I was on these medications that made me drowsy. Now, my mom reached out to him. His name was Michael Tamora. Back in these days, it was cassette tapes.
Right.
So you get to ask him two questions. And my
Yeah.
dad is this mechanical engineer, complete skeptic. So
Yeah.
he writes down 100 questions and he picks his favorite two. Just like, I'm going to prove this guy's a fraud. Just like,
Yeah.
these are my favorite two.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to ask.
Yeah.
So we wait 2 weeks to get the recording in the mail because he does the healing, records it, and then sends it in the mail.
Okay.
Um,
Since the recording of the reading. Okay.
and so they get it back. And what Michael saw was I was channeling beings without bodies,
Yeah.
just awarenesses. And the physical body is just low frequency, big wavelength. And they were
Mhm.
this fast frequency, short wavelength, and it was short circuiting the systems.
Yeah.
So when I was four, he, not even on a call or verbally communicated, told me to put a stop sign at the edge of my energy field, my
Yeah.
aura, and said,
Yeah.
hey, this is my space. You're not welcome in here. So they're listening to this, and they heard me say that the last couple weeks, but they thought I was just being like a 4-year-old boy with my imagination. So they didn't even
Yeah.
think about it at the time until they listened to it. And in addition to answering my dad's two questions, Michael answered every single one of those questions, all 100 that he did not ask
That
in
he
the
didn't get.
recording.
Yeah. Yeah.
And since then, I've never had a seizure again.
Amazing. Yeah. What a healing you received.
Yeah.
And how impactful to learn those really spiritual tools for having psychic boundaries, right? To just be able to say, nope, those beings don't belong in my body right now. I don't need to channel all of that. And that really shifted the whole experience of having seizures. It's beautiful and profound. I'm so glad you had a connection to Michael so that you wouldn't have to continue to suffer from the seizures and really not be able to address the underlying cause. You know, there's a lot of medications that people take for seizures that can maybe mitigate the symptoms, but like you said, it just makes you drowsy and it's not really dealing with the underlying psychic cause on a spirit level, what's going on. So, how else have you experienced life differently, would you say? It's not like you had a before and after, right? A lot of people who learn psychic tools, they have this before and after, but you might have a comparison with just other people your age or how they're navigating life.
So
What differences do you notice?
this is really cool. When I was in my mom's womb, I had a stroke. So my left foot would be walking normal. My right
Yeah.
foot would be off to the side, and
Yeah.
I had to deal with that until about eighth grade.
Wow.
And just with being able to incorporate the tools, I've been able to be happy-go-lucky ever since. I had mental disabilities. I have a little bit of a speech impediment, having trouble pronouncing my R's.
Yeah.
But with being able to manage the space and having this at such a young age, I haven't been as stressed as anyone around me. I haven't had the overwhelming, the anxiety um, as other people that would be dealing with what I am. And since mentally, emotionally, spiritually, I've been able to accept it without resisting it, because that's huge.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
the more you could just have it as it is, and yeah, you want to get out of pain, you want to do something about it. But being able to accept where you're at and then work towards where getting to is
Yeah.
so much easier to deal with than trying to fight it, change it, or solve it. And now I'm one of the more athletic of my friends, and I was uncoordinated. But because of the mental limitations, physical limitations that I've been able to get through with my practices, I'm way more capable on all aspects than if I were to have not be as involved in figuring out who I am as a soul.
Yeah, you really haven't let any challenges on a body level, whether they be physical limitations or mental limitations, you haven't let any of that stop you from just being who you are and allowing that light of your awareness and your soul presence and the power of your creativity to just shift all of that and come through more and more as the capable soul that you are. It's really awesome. It's been
Mm.
fun to watch. I love that you said, you've been happy go lucky. I've always seen you as a very happy being whose joy is really shining through all the time. Like you said, you haven't been the effect of any of the limitations, that other people might think, oh, you poor thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mm.
You're not the effect of that. You're just really living your life from an empowered place, no matter what the circumstances. Yeah, and that's really unique and powerful. So you work as a healer, massage therapist. What kinds of experiences have you had that you'd like to share related to
Mm.
using the spiritual awareness tools that you've grown up using in that context of working with other people and sharing these tools?
Well, what I love about massage
Mhm.
is I can touch base with the wholeness of the person. I'm really good at the clinical, physical manipulation of the fascia, muscles, the nerves. And it's amazing just with 2 years of schooling, the scope of the body that I could touch base on.
Yeah.
But I'm also able to touch base on the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, just the wholeness of the person. And the biggest healing just basically comes from saying hello to the whole person. And that
Yeah.
really what it boils down to.
Yeah.
With most of the time, I don't even say a word during the massage because that's where people just zone out and
Yeah,
really just
that's
enjoy
great.
it. Yeah, yeah. But just
You
to
probably all
validate
experienced a
and
massage where there's a lot of chatting and we're like,
yeah,
huh.
yeah.
You really
Mm.
let people sink in and relax and go within
Well, another aspect is just communication. Such a small percentage of it is verbal and talking.
out loud. Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
So you're more in communication, spirit to spirit, soul to
yeah.
soul.
And I'm
Yeah. Would
pretty
you call that more
hands-on when it comes to
right?
my spirit communication.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Really communicating, yeah, with the energy through your hands as well. You have
Mm.
very lucky clients. I'm
Yes.
saying that because I think that most massage therapists are healers as well, but how many really have those tools, those awareness tools to be able to tune into that more subtle level and also heal themselves in the process so they're not taking on a lot of energy and also be able to communicate soul to soul during the more what might on the outer level seem like just the physical manipulation and movement of the fascia and the muscles. It's pretty profound. Are
Uh,
you going to teach others how to work with people in that way?
wow, you're tuned into it. Yeah, that is the biggest project that I've started this year is I've
Nice.
started this writing down my modality and for those healing any modality, massage, whatever you're doing, the one thing that I would like to share is it's less of what you do. It's less of the technique and more of where you coming about it, how you're relating to it. And for me, I have found a checklist of three things. And if I can have these three things, healing happens. The first one is compassion,
Mhm.
being kind to both yourself and everyone involved.
Yeah.
And that's forgiveness, being able to be forgiving to everyone involved,
Yeah.
other than taking away and the judging and just all of these things that separate us. If we could be kind and accept in a heartfelt way, that's where a lot of healing comes from. Having amusement, because um, massage therapy, everyone will
Yeah.
tell you the deepest, darkest, and trauma dump on you. And
Yeah.
if you match it with sympathy, you're not going to help anyone. You're just meeting them where they're at, and misery loves company.
Yes.
But if you can be amused and enjoy the good, the bad, the beautiful, the ugly, then they'll either stay where they're at or they'll come up to you and they won't be as much of a victim or reacting to it. They'll be
Right.
able to laugh a little bit, relax, let that tension go, and match you, and
Yeah.
they will start to respond and deal with it.
Yes.
And it's beautiful. And the third and
So
the final way
yeah.
is I've learned as a healer, as a massage therapist, that I can't fix the body, I can't solve anyone else's problems. So if you can't fix it or solve it, you gotta have neutrality.
Mhm.
Be able to just have
Functionality,
it
yes.
as it is. And if you
Yes.
get your clients to be able to have it and just experience the pain and tension, the grief, whatever they're dealing with, without trying to fix it, solve it, change it, fight it, then just this, all of the stress and muscle tension just starts to release. So,
Mhm.
neutrality, kindness, and amusement. If you could have
Yes.
those three things, whatever you're doing, then it's just gonna make the condition so much better.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so powerful to be able to work with someone in any modality, but I would say especially massage because I think because the modality of massage is so physical, it's connecting with that physical level. People might forget that where the real healing is coming from is like you said, how you're approaching it, right? So the physical modality is important. It's good that you know what you're doing, but you would not be as effective and impactful if you were coming from a different space because you're coming from that neutrality and compassion and amusement. you're creating so much space for energy to release, for tension to move. It's really creating movement, the permission and space for movement of energy, right? Because when we're not neutral, it's like we're holding on to it. Like you said, with fixing or solving, if we're trying to fix or solve pain, we have to hold on to it to like grapple with it, you know?
Yeah.
There's not a lot of space for movement and shifting and changing. Yeah, and compassion opens up space, like you said, non-judgment, as well
Mm,
as amusement. That really moves the energy.
mm,
Yes, thank you for sharing. Those are three really powerful, important tools, spiritual awareness practices that anyone can incorporate into their lives, but especially healers. So important. And really wouldn't be an effective or impactful healing without that approach. I look forward to you sharing and teaching that.
yeah.
Stephen, do you have any memories from maybe earlier childhood of being aware more on a psychic or soul level that you'd like to share with
So
us?
I'll go back to that. And honestly, I'm learning that I'm getting rid of the limitations of growing up. And if I could just be as psychic as I was as a kid, then
Yeah.
I'd be a superhero. But yeah, I'm not there yet. I still
Mhm.
have a lot of this energy, judgments, belief systems, worldviews that
Yeah.
society and everything has put on me that I'm starting to get back to find the original me. But what's really cool is now that I'm doing this work and letting go of all of that, I'm getting a lot more information through my massages. Last week, I had this client who's like, talked about her lower back and more of the
Mhm.
sacrum, that pelvic bone area.
Yeah.
And I saw, keep in mind, she was like face down, and I was able to get this really nice release of the piriformis, which was a huge release. Didn't say anything for 45 minutes. And then when I turned her over and told her that, I shared with her what I saw, and it was 5 or 6 years ago. She was in survival mode of trying to just survive. But now she has things figured out more or less, and she doesn't need all of that energy in that first chakra, which is basically your fight or flight survival instinct. And
Yeah.
she was holding onto that for 5, 6 years. We were able to let it go and become more present, and the first chakra was able to tune into where she's coming at now, other than being stuck 5 years in the past. I
Yeah.
shared that with her, and then I didn't say a word for like the rest of the massage, right? She,
Yeah.
when I'm doing the payment, she's like, "Yeah, no, I was having a kid, and I was a single mom at the time, so I was just trying
Mhm.
to do what I needed to do that day. There was no
Yeah.
in the future. It was just right here,
Get
right
by.
now is the only thing.
Yeah.
Trying to
Yeah.
put out files 6, 7 times a day.
Yeah.
Now, 95% of the time when I share what I see is great. 3 days ago, I had a similar situation and I started talking, but I forgot to match her verbiage where she's at. And I came from
Yeah.
this really high enthusiasm where I'm coming from,
Yeah.
and that is fighting words. So
Mm.
after I say one or two things, she cuts me off. It's like, hey, I don't need a philosophy lesson. And I'm like, I'm sorry.
Mm.
And then I did
Are you
not say a
sure?
word for the rest of the massage. But what's
Yeah.
really cool is if you don't know how to handle your space, when someone invalidates you and you share your soul and they're like, hey, that's not for me, I don't need a philosophy lesson, then it just kind of breaks you down and you shut off.
Yeah, you could
But
easily like get really down on yourself about that, but
because
you
I
didn't.
realize that I'm here and it's my bad for not having the right context, environment, way to talk about it, I even during that and after that, was able to keep my space, be my naturally happy self without letting it get to me. And that's
Yeah.
huge when you could get to that space where people could say, hey, you liar, you're not what you're saying you are. And you could be like, okay, I can see that. I'm
Yeah.
still gonna just be me. So
Yeah.
the more you learn
Really.
how to handle
The
your space, the more you can deal with difficult people. And that's nice because
Right.
there's money in dealing with difficult people. Um,
Yeah. You didn't let that invalidation stick to you. You really just let it pass through. If I look at
yeah.
the energy of it, it's like, oh yeah. And really you were seeing that experience through the eyes of compassion of just, oh yeah, she wasn't interested in this information. That doesn't mean the information's bad or wrong.
hmm
It's just, yeah, it wasn't the right space for it.
So do you have any advice when someone invalidates you after you just feel like you had a beautiful moment? What do you do in that situation?
Oh, thanks for asking. Yeah. I think it's different each time. So I would look at myself and the other person in that moment to see one, was their invalidation coming from something they were experiencing? And that if they were in a lot of pain or invalidation, oftentimes that can just get passed on to the other person. And then I also look at what did that trigger within me, right? What did the invalidation coming at me trigger within me? Did it bring up any of my own invalidation? And when I let go of that, then I can let go of the perceived others' invalidation as well and just forgive both the seeming other and myself for any of that invalidation. So, yeah, I always work with forgiveness and compassion as well, recognizing that oftentimes that kind of invalidation is coming from a deeply painful space within another and finding that any of that pain within myself and letting that go. Yeah, just letting it go.
Yeah, I was
It
house.
seems so simple, but yet, as we were talking about before with neutrality, compassion, and amusement, there isn't space for people to let go if they're not able to find those frequencies, those higher vibrations that are amusement and compassion and neutrality. Right? Because letting go is not a doing, it's the opposite. It's just letting it be. So I don't resist it. And if I do resist it, I laugh about that and let go of the resistance.
So I grew up with dogs, and
Mm-hmm.
with my massage clients, I'm teaching the exact same thing. The first lesson is drop it.
Yeah.
And once they are able to let it go, things could start moving and not be as stagnant or as tense. If we could
Yes.
let those knots go in the shoulder, then you'll be more grateful. And it's the same with the pain and the invalidation. As soon as you could let it go, things will start to release and relax.
Yeah. And it's really helpful for people to be aware of what makes them hold on, right? Because letting go is simple. It's easy. It's a not putting your energy into something. But it seems difficult when you've had your energy in that thing, holding on to it for so long. It's either become an ingrained pattern of holding on to that to the point where you don't even notice anymore. It's just part of you. And then there can be fear in letting it go because it's become part of you, right? It's become part of your identity or part of what's familiar and safe feeling, even if it's painful. So that letting go is really creating space for safety and trust. So there's no fear.
That
Fear is
is,
really what makes us hold on.
well, I love that acronym. I think that's what it's called, fulfill.
Yeah.
FEAR, false
Yeah.
evidence appearing real.
Yes. Love
And
that.
so I remember I'm climbing up this cliff. I get to the top, I look down, and I don't want to climb down. I've got so much fear, and I just get a red flag. Like, but
Mhm.
there was like this 10-foot gap between this cliff and this cliff, and I could jump and catch myself on a tree and then
Mhm.
climb up, and it's an easy hike down. So I've got two options. And when I am scared like that, I need to be neutral, relaxed, calm, and just trust what I'm inspired to do, my inspiration. And I was inspired to make the jump, which
Yeah.
felt more safe, even though maybe it wasn't. But after I was able to let go of that fear and drop it and
Hmm.
just tune into my natural instincts and intuition, then you're able to make the jump and it's so much more easy than
Yeah.
trying to climb down a cliff.
Yeah. It's a great analogy. Like when we're in those moments of fear, our intuition can guide us to what on the surface might not look safe. The analyzer might say, "Oh, that looks really," but the intuition is showing you, no, that's the correct way, or that's the best way for you, and just gotta trust it and let go
Absolutely.
of the fear. Nice.
So I would like to get off to a tangent. I just got this mental image of a
Yes,
story that I would like to share with you.
please.
Yeah, so it's a story of a monk that's being
Okay.
chased by two lions. And this monk is running for his life because that's what you
Yeah.
do when you're getting chased by two lions. He gets to this cliff and the lions are almost upon him. He sees this vine, so he starts to lower himself down at the vine. And let's say it's a 100-foot cliff. He's like 50 feet down and 50 feet to go. He
Mhm.
looks down, and the two lions are waiting for him at the bottom. He looks up, and two little mice are chomping at the vine he's holding on to.
Yeah.
So, we're talking about feel, and
Yeah.
yeah, you're looking at that. Either way,
Yeah.
it's apparent. But then he just takes a moment, looks to the left, and growing outside of this cliff is this beautiful strawberry. And he picks it and has the best tasting strawberry of his life. That's why I'm gonna cut the story at an end
Mhm.
because what I like about that story is you got the things that are coming after you and the things
Yeah.
that you don't like, the negatives, all of this pain and conflict. Do we allow ourselves to just get tunnel visioned on that? Or do we open up and try to find that little strawberry, that little thing that we enjoy in the midst of the chaos? And that's where the eye of the storm, where you can be calm while everything around you is not. So
And just look at
today,
that one little
yeah,
next step.
just that one thing you enjoy, and there's always little strawberries. There's always something that will make you smile in any
Yeah.
situation. So I try to get tunnel visioned on the strawberry, and it's working out so far.
I think everyone wants to know though what happens to him.
He grew wings,
Does the
flew away.
strawberry give him special powers that
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
able
yeah.
to fly off the cliff, or
No,
like
he
what
died.
happens?
He died, but he died
He
happy
died,
on
but he
a
died happy. He
yeah,
died
yeah,
enjoying life.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I love it.
Which
That's hilarious. That's great imagery. I'm enjoying the strawberry,
yeah.
the sweetness of life. Yeah. I guess the overall message is no matter what kinds of difficulties we're facing, even if they seem and are life threatening, to really enjoy each moment and
Well,
look for the
that,
gift.
and you were wondering how he died.
Yeah.
Now, Michael, the guy who I've learned this healing work from, who healed
Hmm.
me of my grandma's seizures, he asked a question. Do you know how you can die? And no, not falling off a cliff by lions. But do you die at peace, fulfilled, and happy? Or do you die as a victim, just having all of this chaos? Because unless you die in your sleep, it's probably not going to be a pleasant experience. Um, so, and
But you can
these
die
two
laughing.
are going to
Yeah.
be completely different deaths. And I would rather die at peace, happy, and enjoying the strawberry other than worrying about
Yes.
which limb the lions are going to eat first.
Right.
And yes, that's a cool philosophy and how we could implement it in our everyday life right here and now.
Yes.
So, how do we practice dying fulfilled and happy?
Yeah.
And for me, dying's the biggest change that you could go through. You're gonna let go of a lot of what you think here, and you're gonna go on to whatever's next. So look at how you're dealing with change on a daily level, on a moment to moment level. Are you becoming overwhelmed and a victim and being controlled by the change reactive? Or are you looking at the change and being able to keep your space, stay calm, and be responsive to it? So,
Be able
how
to
you
respond.
go and practice dealing with change is really going to pay off when that time comes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that deeper meaning of the story. I was thinking for anyone listening, they're probably wondering what happened to the monk, but really, the whole point was to recognize that one, the soul doesn't die, right? So the monk was like, well, keep enjoying the moment that still exists if and when the body dies. And then I love this progression into recognizing that how we deal with change on the daily really informs how we are going to approach death, right? Can we respond in the moment with joy and surrender and trust and enthusiasm, really? Like, what's
Yeah,
next?
faith. Like Bon Jovi said, got to keep the faith.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Living on a Prayer is another one by Bon Jovi that might fit into
Yes.
this.
Yes. This is a
Mm,
fun tangent,
yeah.
Stephen. All the deeper messages of the songs. That's great. I remember many times in the years of practicing spiritual tools and practicing meditation and just really getting to know my inner beingness, I would often get those reminders from Michael and from others that all of these spiritual tools really are practicing for death. And not in this morbid way of like that's all we're thinking about, like, oh, when we die, but just practicing letting go, right? Because that's really what death is. It's letting go of the body and really being able to let go of everything that came with that experience in that body. This whole experience in this incarnation, when we die, if we're not only just letting go of, oh, my body's done, but everything we experienced, right? We're really forgiving it all and not carrying with us any regret or blame or shame or guilt or judgment or anything. Practicing for death. It's when you let it all go,
Well,
then you're
that's when you
really
could
free.
start living, man. You have to deal
Yeah.
with the dichotomies. You can't have one without the other. And I feel more alive the more I practice time.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
Um,
you're free when you're not stuck on those dichotomies of it has to be this way, but not that way.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You can have
Yeah.
both.
Yeah.
I feel like this physical body personality that I know myself as Steven has to make decisions. I could either have one or the other. But then you look at that infinite soul aspect, that immortal aspect of you that's limitless, that was you before this body, will be you after this body. And you realize that aspect can have both and every time. You don't have to choose. You can have that abundance.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's no limitation in spirit. It's not either or, it's both and.
absolutely.
And that we can bring that limitlessness into our experience here in these body minds and these personalities, right? Stephen can experience the limitlessness of spirit when you come from that place of knowing, so that it might look like on the surface you have to choose either or, but so many more possibilities open up in those moments of seeming either or choices when you're recognizing and aware of and having that both and of spirit. It really does transform that experience in the physical so that other options open up and all of a sudden it's not either or anymore. It
And
really is both and.
I think it has a lot to do with having this. With
Yes,
both
having this.
and, you're looking at being able to have it With either
Right.
or, you're looking at worst case
Right.
scenario and what you don't
Yeah.
want.
There's a
And
resistance to one and a grabbing of the other.
the trick is to have both and to have both being able to see what could happen and kind of the big picture
Yeah.
of if poo hits the fan, this could happen, and I have to deal with it. I could have
Right.
that. But
Right.
also
And
realize
be
that
okay
it's
with it.
much more than that. So you even have to have the either or because we live in this dichotomy of a
Right.
physical existence.
Yeah.
So
Be
you
able
have
to
to
have
find
the
out how
both.
to manage both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not resist one. One's bad, right? It's really looking at those judgments, right? That's bad and that's good.
Yeah. Me
But
want the
when we're able to
cookie.
have the both and, it's just, oh, there's this or that. They're different.
Yeah.
I'm aware that I have a little bit of resistance to one more than the other, you know?
Me wants the
Yeah.
chocolate cake. Me don't
Yeah.
want the urinal cake. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mm,
Yeah. I could probably all agree we would
yeah.
like the chocolate cake more than the urinal cake. That's
Um,
hilarious.
while we were talking yesterday,
Hmm.
I was being pulled in all of these directions. And honestly, everything felt like I was a snake with my head cut off, just flailing about. If you think
Yeah.
having running around with your chicken with your head cut off, that's nothing compared to what snakes do and their
That's,
wobbliness. And that's what I was experiencing.
mm,
But it was so beautiful because I knew that that was part of the stuff I needed to let go and the chaos to be able to have this call with you and for this to be as good as it is now. So I
yeah.
knew even at that time that all of this flailing around energy
Yeah.
was part of to make this as nice as it is.
Wonderful.
So it's
Yeah. Sometimes there's a lot of energy that needs to move out of the way, right, to
mhm.
create space for something. And it was so helpful that you knew that. So you didn't have to resist it or, try to fix it or solve it or get upset about it or fight it. You could just be there and observe and be amused. Wow, look at this snake flailing around.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm experiencing myself as a headless snake. Do
yeah.
they really do that? I don't think I've ever seen
So the
a snake.
answer is, I think so. I've never tested it.
I don't think I'll test it
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
I'll take your word for it. Well, the reason I asked earlier about experiences when you were younger, I don't know very many kids who were raised with psychic tools, with spiritual awareness tools, sort of steeped in that environment where it was just normal and part of everyday life. You had this unique experience of just incorporating awareness tools in your life from the beginning, right? So there's not this distinct before and after experience. It's just normal for you. And so I was thinking, oh, I wonder if Stephen has any memories of earlier in life experiencing things that people would call psychic, like experiencing telepathy or experiencing communicating with other beings or communicating with off planet beings or even just that kind of knowing those deeper levels of what was going on with your friends as a healer. Were
Mm.
you picking up on what was going on with friends and were you able to speak to that or did you have to kind of keep it to yourself? How did you navigate being a psychic kid but still being like normal?
Normal? Yeah, good luck
Not
with
that you'll
that.
ever be
I
normal, but
don't
like,
think any kids are normal.
I
The kids that
know.
are trying to be normal, they're the sociopaths. You don't know what they're doing in the
like
background.
how did you experience
So
just being, with
here's,
other kids who might not have experienced that level of validation of your awareness from the beginning?
first of all, yes, it was normal for me. So, like, I never even second thought of whatever I was experiencing as being special. Now, I'm not one to not talk and to keep to myself. I'm an open book. I'm a free spirit since day one. If my body did start breaking down, my mouth would be the last to go. I promise you that. And I don't really remember much, but when I was a little 3-year-old to like 6 or 7, my mom, oh, okay, we'll start even younger than that. These are all stories that my mom has told me. I don't remember them. When I was a baby, there was this silver balloon floating above my crib, and I was reaching for the string. And so mom was like, we didn't buy him a balloon. So she goes and walks over, the balloon starts floating away, and then like it goes to the living room. She almost has it and it vanishes.
Yeah.
And what's cool about that is she had an extraterrestrial feel to it. So she just had the
Yeah.
knowingness
Yeah.
that this spaceship actual it's an actual balloon. You know how the UFOs are a weather balloon? This one was an
Right.
actual balloon. Um,
It just looked like a
yeah,
balloon.
yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
funny.
So she bought like a silver dolphin, and we still have it today that resembled and
Mhm.
reminded us of this.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff happened more often than it should. And then my mom,
Meaning like different
yeah,
objects appearing and
just
then disappearing in your space?
uh, I would start talking in tongues. I would
Mm.
go and
Yeah.
just do the psychic phenomenon, like what you're saying, that's not normal, that some people would be like freaking out about. But to us, it's just, it happens. It's part of
Yeah.
life. Yeah. Now, fast forward, I'm about 4 or 5 years old. I grew up with horses, and my mom's favorite horse died. And she's silently crying, and I'm like, it's okay. The old man took her away, and she'll be happy. So mom asked me so to describe the old guy, and she goes to a photo album, and turns out it's her grandpa that she was really close with. And I was able to tell her what the grandpa said, and just to give her some validation that everything's gonna be okay, and the horse and grandpa is doing well.
Oh, that's
Um,
so wonderful.
and
So you
then
saw you didn't know that it was her grandpa because you hadn't met him in body, but you saw
uh,
him in spirit and
and listen to him
communicated
like
that.
I could see him, I could hear him. It's like he was there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's so helpful. Having that spirit communication is so helpful. I'm sure it was very comforting for your mother.
yeah. What about you? Has your kids had
Mm.
anything phenomenal go on? Yeah, give us a
Um,
story.
I know. Give us a story. I have kids. My younger son is definitely more interested in maintaining that level of awareness throughout his life. And my middle son is more in that period of just being a body and developing the ego and really being here, which I think is great because as a being, he's very big and out there. So I think it's helpful that right now he's just focused on like the physical and being here. But what I noticed the most about their psychic awareness is that they communicate telepathically all the time and don't notice. Like, for example, my son will respond to me without speaking out loud. If I ask a question, he'll respond and I'll get his answer, but I'll be like, could you say it out loud? Because not everyone, with me, I get it. Like I understand that you responded, but for most people out there, they're going to think you're just ignoring them, right? Like it will just look like he's ignoring you, but he's responding telepathically. And then I'll point that out and he'll be like, "Oh yeah, sorry." So he's aware that he's very telepathic, but it's more of like pointing out to him like it's helpful to be aware of that telepathy, and if someone isn't tuned into that, they're going to think you're just ignoring them because you're not speaking out loud. So that happens a lot, especially with my middle son. My younger one, he's 10, we're still very attuned on that telepathic level, but he's a communicator, a talker as well. So my middle son, who's very quiet, is still very telepathic because it's easier for him. He doesn't really want to talk. But my younger son's very talkative. So he's still aware of the telepathic part, but very talkative. And I would say the most I noticed about his spiritual awareness just comes through in the dreams he shares with me. which I think on some levels they're more astral experiences. I differentiate astral experiences from dreams in that astral experiences, you're remembering where you went while your body was asleep, where you as a
Hmm.
soul went and what you're experiencing, whereas dreams are more like the mental clearing the cache, in the mental. It's like filtering out all the images that were stored there. So sometimes he shares what he calls dreams, and to me they look like his astral experience, and they're very vivid and profound, and sometimes have to do with visiting. Like often to him it sounds like he's sharing a scary dream, and it looks to me like he went to a place where there was like some conflict, some war,
Hmm.
some pretty heavy human experience happening somewhere on the planet, and he was observing that, maybe just being present on some healing level. And then he'll share that with me. What he remembers is the images he saw, right, of pretty intense war or people suffering. Sometimes it looks like he's hanging around refugee camps, places where there's a lot of
Hmm.
displaced people. And he'll say, everyone was really sad and there was a lot of suffering. And for him, it's a scary dream. And I'm like, I think you were visiting places where people just needed a loving presence, a hello to spirit and to healing. So that's what I remember. My oldest son, I raised him just communicating about spiritual tools and teaching, and I wasn't sure if he was picking up on any of it. I always thought, well, maybe he's getting this. I don't know. And then one day when he was about 17, he came home and he shared with me that he had been getting a ride home with his friend's mother. And he said, I don't know what was going on with her, but something wasn't right. She might have been drinking or on some drugs or something. And so he could tell that it wasn't a safe situation, that she wasn't really present enough to drive properly. He's like, yeah, I'm really glad I made it home. I don't know what was going on. And I said, well, what did you do? And he said, oh, I just grounded her and I grounded the car and I just grounded my way home.
Nice.
And I was like, oh, you did learn something. I hadn't heard him speak to any of the awareness tools before. And he does occasionally, but for him, the way that he communicated was just, well, of course I just did that. Like it was just totally,
Yeah, it makes
no effort,
sense.
no thought. It's like, well, of
Which
course I just
it
did that.
does. It
Right.
just makes sense. It's
Right. It was
practical.
just like, of
Yeah,
course I just did that. And I was like, yeah, of course you did.
love that.
Yeah. So that was for me, it was like one of those proud mom moments. I was like, oh, good for you. That's right. Yeah.
Mm.
It's like, I don't know if other moms who've raised kids with psychic tools have those experiences, but I don't always know. It's not something we talk about, right? It's just a normal part of life. So I don't always know to what level those levels of awareness have been integrated into their daily life, but it looks like they have.
That's great. It
Yeah, at least in
is.
those moments where it really, really helped. Very practical moment of just needing to ground everything and made it home safely. So,
It's useful.
yeah.
Yeah.
What about you? Do you have some practical everyday uses of the tools that you've noticed helpful impacts around?
So the answer is yes,
Just
but
remembering that. Sometimes when it's just normal, it doesn't stick out in your
yeah.
memory, right? It's
So
just
I will share a little bit about my practices, but
okay.
I'm much more into everyone has their own personal way of dealing with things and their own routines, things that work for them.
Yeah.
And I'd rather have this time to share what I have learned that really helped me develop and build my way of doing things.
Yeah.
The first thing is I feel like 99% of spiritual growth or just growth in general
Mhm.
is reminding yourself of what you already know, what already works for you. And I have this little spiritual reminder checklist of the tools that I use. And I'll even record it at the beginning of the week. And when I'm in the car driving from my house to my job to I coach volleyball to I've got all of these fun hobbies. And just the
Yeah, you do.
transitioning aspect, I'll listen to
Mhm.
that and remind myself to ground, let it go, collect my energy from the past, from the future.
Mhm.
There's so many people driving and they're already at the destination. So if I can
Right.
have my energy while I'm driving the truck and be in the driver's seat of my body,
Yes.
I become a much better driver. I'm not looking down, finding I'm going 90. I actually do close-ish to the speed limit. Um, I'm only going 80 in a 70. And then after you let go and let all of everyone else's excess energy just fall off, bringing in a golden sun full of that aliveness, full of that
Yeah.
good juju.
Yeah.
Because once you empty your cup, if you don't replace it with what you want, then you'll just have that stuff come back. So
Yeah.
filling in with this golden energy full of
Yeah.
just aliveness, that which gives life force energy.
Yeah.
So that's what I do transitioning, but reminding myself consistently throughout the day to do those things makes a huge difference. Whatever works for you, find a way to do it when you get in the car or transitioning, and you'll find that it becomes much more powerful, useful, and effective in this physical everyday life.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love how practical the spiritual tools can be. I think sometimes when I teach them, people might have the sense that, oh, these are for your spiritual life, right? These are for your soul life. But we're here in bodies as souls, so they're for our daily life too. They are indeed practicing to die, right?
Yeah,
These tools do help us let go and be aware as the being that we are so that on the other
validates
side, we have that clarity
ourselves.
and awareness as well. But there's just very practical uses, like you said, in driving. How much more safe would everyone be navigating if they were just present, grounded in the center of their head, not like you said, already at their destination, dragging their body behind? And then those moments of, I love how you pointed out that all of the spiritual tools are really reminders and we can incorporate them in our daily life. We don't have to be just in meditation when we're using them. Like you said, from walking from your house to the car to your next destination, if you're aware of all these things, it just really brings that flow and clarity and creativity to every part of your day and fun and joy.
So I feel like you have to have both a little bit.
Yeah.
And if you've ever tried meditating in the aspect of letting go of all your thoughts and mind,
Mhm.
2 minutes feels like 2 hours. It's amazing
Yeah.
anyone can do it. So I like to do the visualization exercises so I could give myself a focus to be able to let all of these things go. And I find that when I am in a nice, relaxing environment and have the candle in the corner,
Yeah.
that's a great way to really learn more about the tools and what they do.
Yeah.
But it becomes much more useful if we could do it in our fast-paced everyday life, well, we don't need a candle up our bums.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
but
lovely
we
environment
we
is
do
nice,
need
but not
the
necessary.
candle and the environment to really find what resonates with us and gives
Yeah,
us the inspirations of what we can do in this to
absolutely.
combine and realize that the limitless soul beingness and that reality is the exact same as this limited physical body reality. There's no barriers, there's no difference. It's just validating that and this and being able to make both your reality.
To have both. Yeah. Yeah, it comes back to the both and, right? It's
Yes.
being able to have both. And it certainly is helpful, really necessary to cultivate that awareness in a meditation space so that you don't have the distractions when you're really getting to know yourself and your own creative power and really getting to know the mind, but then having both, taking that out with you, taking that awareness with you in every moment in your busy life as well. Super powerful and impactful.
So Martin Luther King, he said that he would go and spend an hour a day at the beginning in prayer.
Mhm.
And then if he had an important speech or he knew the day was going to be difficult, he'd spend 2 hours.
Yeah.
I'm not Martin Luther King. I'm unable to do that. But I do go and do my little trance meditation, 15, 30
Mhm.
minutes
Yeah.
at the beginning of the day. And then if I know, like yesterday, I was going to be torn five, six different directions and being a flailing snake, I do a little bit longer of a trance meditation to just make sure my space, I'm comfortable and happy with it, and then I'll
Yeah.
begin my day. And
Wonderful.
that
Yeah.
makes it so that all of these things seem to work out way better than if I were to
Absolutely.
just go at it.
Right.
So I actually get more done, even though I take like an hour beforehand just setting
Right.
space. So
Absolutely. Yeah. It creates more space in the day when you start from that grounded, centered space within you. You're able to be more impactful in your day because you're more present. Power of the presence of your beingness is more readily available for you to create in your day and respond. You're really able to respond better throughout the day when you start with meditation. You start from that grounded, centered space.
yeah,
Yeah. It's
isn't
good to hear that.
presence a gift? It
It's such a
truly
gift.
is. Yep, presence. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Uh,
simple, right? But
mm,
until we recognize that and really own it, like, oh, I just need to be present. The default setting in the world is very much not being present, right? Chasing it, being the flailing headless snake
yeah,
and reacting to every alarming situation and every problem, which really creates more problems, right? It just creates this whirlwind of the snowball effect of problems.
yeah,
And when we start from that centered, grounded place, it's like, oh no, this is how I would like to respond in life rather than match that default setting in the world that's very reactionary and problem oriented and not very
so
amused.
I'm gonna add on to that.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned simple, and
Mm-hmm.
the default setting of the word is complicated and difficult. Now, what I
Exactly.
have found is if you put a bunch of simple things together, it seems complicated. Like the master pianist. If you hear him play, it sounds beautiful, sounds complicated, looks difficult.
Yeah.
But he's just doing one note at a time, just a bunch of simple things, and it
Yeah.
just looks complicated.
Yeah.
So that is a huge aspect of how I try to live my life is I realize that doing something complicated and difficult, I can't start there. That's beyond me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I could learn the fundamentals and learn the simple. And if I put a bunch of simple things together, like if you're learning a musical instrument, then once you master the simple or even get okay at the simple, you can look and impress people and it just seems complicated. And it's the same with spirituality. Just keep it simple.
Yeah.
Don't try to overthink it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy to do.
Exactly. It is. Because, like you said, the world is complex. Our minds make things very complex. But if we keep it simple and remember that every complex thing is really a lot of simple things put together, we can approach life in that way. And so much easier to keep it simple. Take one step at a time. Love it.
Yeah, there's an acronym that says KISS. Keep it
Mhm.
simple. I say Steven. Originally, it's stupid, but
It works for you, right?
yeah,
Keep
yeah,
it
yeah.
simple, Stephen.
Keep it simple. Spirit is.
Yeah.
I love KISS.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could party all night and sleep all day. What is the KISS song that I'm referring to? Do you know? Do you know
Sort
it?
of. I hear it playing in
Yeah,
my
yeah,
mind. Yeah.
yeah,
I'm hearing that one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
Oh, thank you so much for chatting with me today, Stephen.
thank you so much. This
Mhm.
has been amazing.
Yay, it's been so fun. Happy you joined me today. Thanks everyone for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Hello, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you watching. I hope you enjoyed what you saw. If you did, go ahead and hit like and subscribe. Share this with friends. Really helps us out, and we really appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing you next time.